Was the move about getting away from the UK press, because the press is, is everywhere, or was the move because you weren't getting enough support from the firm?
It was both.
Meghan Markle breaks her agreement with King Charles and Buckingham Palace to leak to her friends at People magazine.
The meeting is so private that we'll never find out about what happened in it, and we will supposed to never see anything from it because Meghan's not doing any public appearances. So this has all been a public appearance, apparently, that she said she wasn't going to do, but we won't find out the nature of the meeting.
He's making the point that this leak is Meghan trying to make herself the victim in all of this, somehow.
She is no longer on the mountaintop. Invincible.
Trust takes years to build and only moments to destroy. Just 48 hours after Harry and Meghan's private meeting with King Charles at Highgrove, details from the reunion began appearing in the media, raising questions about the one thing everyone expected: privacy. Because this wasn't supposed to be another royal headline. No cameras, no balcony, no official photograph. This was meant to be the one meeting that stayed off the record. The one moment Harry and his family could have without an audience.
Reality is that's what they're going to do. They're going to leak, and it's inevitable. I mean, it is inevitable.
But it didn't stay off the record. Not for long. Within 2 days, sources describing themselves as close to the couple were already talking. Not about what Charles said, not about what happened inside the room, about how Meghan felt. And that's the detail that changes everything, because the palace had said nothing at all.
A source who knows the couple. Oh, I wonder who tells people in this week's exclusive cover story that she would have felt humiliated. Oh, poor Meghan. Humiliated watching the public back and forth unfold. Another source. Just give Harry and Meghan a news flash. It's been resolved a long time ago. There is nothing to resolve. So you're the ones creating this constant drama.
The question now isn't just what was discussed at Highgrove, it's who decided the silence should end and why it only took 48 hours. Nobody signed anything, but by every account, both sides understood the terms before Harry and Meghan ever landed in Britain. Keep the meeting private, no briefings, no one shaping the story before the other side had a chance to respond. That was the arrangement, even if no piece of paper said so, because this meeting was never supposed to look like a comeback. That was the entire point of choosing Highgrove over Buckingham Palace. The palace is where royal duty happens, where every appearance gets planned and photographed. Highgrove is Charles's own home.
I think that, yes, he's had a meeting. I think that there's been 2 meetings, solo meetings, isn't there? And there's been one where they got them together. So
Picking it sent a message on its own. This is family, not spectacle. So there was no official photograph released afterward, no statement describing the conversation, no image handed to the press that could be studied, shared, and turned into a headline. For years, Harry and Meghan had said they wanted distance from that kind of coverage. At Highgrove, for a moment, they had it. But an understanding like that only works if it survives contact with the days after. And the real test was never the meeting itself. Anyone can sit in a room together for an hour. The test was whether either side would stay quiet once the cameras weren't there to prove it. For a moment, it looked like they would. Because the meeting happened, the cameras stayed away, and nothing leaked while it was actually taking place. But 2 days is a long time to stay quiet when you have a story people want to hear. And what showed up next didn't come from the palace at all.
Markle wanted it to be known to the world that the choreography of this meeting was nothing to do with her.
A few days after Highgrove, People magazine ran an exclusive, no photo, no official word from Charles. Instead, a story built almost entirely on feelings, credited to sources described only as close to the couple. The report said Meghan felt sadness over how the week had gone, that she'd been affected by the public arguments swirling around the visit, and one line stood out more than the rest, that Meghan always lets Harry take the lead when it comes to his own family.
Line, Meghan Markle always lets Prince Harry lead when it comes to the royal family. There's a lot of sadness over how the week unfolded.
On the surface, that reads as loyalty, but look at what it actually does. It puts Meghan in the story without putting her in the room. She gets to be supportive, sad, and sidelined all at once without anyone having to say she was involved in anything. That's the part that raised eyebrows, because People magazine has a long history with this couple. Harry has emailed the publication directly before. Past stories tied to Harry and Meghan have leaned on the same kind of anonymous sourcing this one did. There's no public proof Meghan picked up a phone and called a reporter. Nobody can say she approved a single word, but someone close enough to describe her private feelings wanted those feelings in print, and they wanted them there fast. So the timeline is hard to ignore. A meeting built on staying quiet, 2 days of actual silence, and then a magazine cover explaining exactly how one half of the couple felt about it, while the palace said nothing at all, which leaves one question hanging over everything that came after. If nobody officially leaked it, why did the silence only last long enough to get the story straight? That timing is exactly what made people pay attention, because after the People magazine story ran, Buckingham Palace said nothing back. No correction, no denial, no competing version of events. For the royal family, that's usually the point. Don't feed a story by fighting it in public. Let it burn out on its own.
But well, again, matters to me that I'm open about where these sources come from. Certainly in the case of People magazine, it is either directly from Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, directly from one of their friends, or directly from their communications team.
But this time, the silence didn't read as strength. It read as one side going quiet while the other side kept talking. On one hand, there was the palace's approach. A private meeting happened, nothing more would be said about it ever. On the other hand, there was a version building through unnamed sources, describing exactly how Meghan felt, what she wanted, and what she'd been through that week.
This is totally intellectually dishonest reporting from People magazine. There's been no about face. Nothing has changed.
Neither version showed the public what actually happened inside Highgrove, but only one version was explaining how the people involved supposedly felt about it, and that's what people remember. Some viewers read the article as Meghan simply defending her own absence. Others asked why a private reunion needed emotional detail attached to it within 48 hours. Either way, the argument stopped being about the meeting itself. It became an argument about who got to control what people believed happened. The palace was betting that silence would win. Harry and Meghan's side was betting that their version, even unofficial, would be the one that stuck. But that tension didn't start with this magazine article, because by the time Harry landed in Britain, this reunion was already surrounded by a week of arguments that had nothing to do with Charles at all. Days earlier, Harry's legal case against a British newspaper group had collapsed in court. The judge ruled against him, and Harry called it a whitewash.
But the thing is that he looked so nerve-wracked and so bothered by losing the court case.
That's not the kind of headline that clears the air before a family reconciliation. It's the kind that follows you into the room. So Harry arrived already on the back foot, and the attention only grew from there. Many expected Meghan to appear alongside him for at least part of the trip. Her presence would have been its own story. Cameras following every move, speculation building about a possible return to public royal life, but she didn't appear, not once, publicly. She skipped the events tied to Harry's visit, and her absence became its own headline, with questions piling up about why she'd stayed away and what that said about the marriage, the family, or both.
You're getting here, and I'm just pointing it out to you, is just full-on pro-Sussex propaganda, because Meghan could have been there. She planned to be there. My belief is the reason she didn't attend is because she didn't want to be pictured with Prince Harry on the...
By the time Harry actually walked through the doors at Highgrove, the reunion wasn't arriving into a calm moment. It was arriving into a week that had already turned into a public argument, court loss and all, before anyone had said a single word about Charles. The meeting was supposed to lower the temperature, but one detail from that meeting ended up mattering more than everything else that happened that week. That detail wasn't something that was said. It was something that never existed at all, because there was no photograph, not one single image of Harry and his father together, no picture of Meghan beside Charles and Camilla, nothing the public could hold on to, study, or point to as proof that anything had actually changed. That absence carries more weight than people realize. A photograph does work on its own. A handshake suggests peace before anyone reads a headline. A smile suggests warmth without a single quote attached. Royal meetings almost always leave something behind, even a small, carefully controlled image meant to close the story. This time, there was nothing to close it. So when there's no photo, people don't stop looking. They just look somewhere else. They look at reports. They look at unnamed sources. They look at whatever fills the space where the image should have been. That's exactly what happened here. With no photo to argue over, the argument shifted onto the words surrounding the meeting instead. The sources, the framing, the feelings nobody could actually verify. Every detail that came afterward carried more weight than it should have, simply because there was nothing else to compare it to. A private meeting is supposed to end with quiet. Instead, this one ended with a gap, and gaps get filled one way or another. The palace filled that gap with silence. Harry and Meghan's side filled it with something else entirely. But once both sides started filling that same empty space in completely different ways, the story stopped being about one meeting. It became about two of them. Because on one side, there was the palace's version. Short, quiet, almost nothing at all. A private family meeting happened. That was the entire message. No description of what was said, no mention of anyone's mood, no interpretation offered to the public about what any of it meant going forward. On the other side, a very different version was taking shape. Through unnamed sources, the public got a story built on feeling instead of fact. Meghan was supportive. Meghan was sad about how the week had gone, and running through all of it, that one line again, that she always lets Harry lead when it comes to his own family. Two versions of the exact same event. One built on saying nothing, the other built on saying everything about how it felt without saying what actually happened. Neither version gave the public the real conversation from inside Highgrove, but only one of them offered an emotional way in, and that's the version people had something to hold on to. A quiet meeting can be described as exactly that, quiet and private, but the same meeting can just as easily be turned into a story about disappointment, loyalty, and being left out of the picture, literally. The reunion was supposed to close a chapter. Instead, it opened a new argument about who got to decide what the public should believe. But that argument didn't stay in Britain for long. It followed Harry straight across the Atlantic, because days after Highgrove, Harry showed up in New York at the Time 100 Sports Gala, and the scene couldn't have looked more different. Cameras everywhere, a red carpet, photographers calling his name, and Harry, by every account, looked completely at ease in the middle of it. That's the contrast people couldn't ignore. This is a man who has spent years talking about the damage of press intrusion, the danger of camera flashes, the reason his family needs protection from constant attention. But here he was, smiling for the same kind of cameras he spent years criticizing and seeming to enjoy every second of it. Critics saw contradiction. If cameras are the problem, why does he look this comfortable in front of them? Supporters saw something different, a distinction rather than a flaw. It was never really about cameras existing at all. It was about who's holding the control. A charity gala with a message attached is one thing. An uninvited photographer outside a private family home is another. Both readings can't fully explain what happened that week, but the timing made the comparison impossible to avoid. In Britain, the story was about privacy, quiet rooms, and a reunion nobody was supposed to see. In New York, the story was cameras, applause, and a red carpet he clearly didn't mind walking down. Two countries, two completely different versions of the same person less than a week apart. The bigger question wasn't really about Harry's comfort with cameras at all. It was about whether any of this ever counted as a reconciliation in the first place, because rebuilding a relationship is one thing. Rebuilding trust is something else entirely. Whether or not anyone officially leaked a word from Highgrove, the outcome was the same. A private reunion turned into a public story within days. The palace stayed silent through all of it. No correction, no rebuttal, no competing version of events. Instead of one clear message about a family finding its way back together, the public got a quiet argument over sources, framing, and who got to decide what people believed. That's the real problem going forward. Trust between people who've spent years in public conflict doesn't rebuild in a single afternoon at Highgrove. It rebuilds through a pattern, meeting after meeting, each one proving a private conversation can stay private. But if every quiet moment gets followed by an anonymous account of how someone felt about it, that pattern never gets the chance to form. Each side ends up watching the other, waiting to see who talks first. So here's the question. Is this the final nail in the coffin for a royal return? Write your answer in the comments. Hit subscribe and like this video if you want more deep dives like this. I'm Jane Exposé, and I'm here for the stories nobody else wants to dig into. I'll see you in the next one.